Okay, so there are two different types of engines that you'll see under 20 horsepower. That is two-stroke and a four-stroke. Four-strokes have an oil pan like this, where you take this out and the piston goes into this crankcase here, which is filled with oil, and dips into the oil, which lubricates the crank and the cylinder head where the piston goes up and down, which without oil would cause friction and eventually solidify the piston to the actual cylinder head. And in a two-stroke, the oil is mixed with the gas and it burns gas efficiently, and the oil separates, lubricating the piston so it doesn't solidify. Now, your basic parts of your two-stroke include the carburetor, which is what most goes wrong with those two-stroke engines, and your coil pack, which leads to this wire which goes to your spark plug, which causes the spark that makes the gas turn into fire and cause the piston to go up and down. A lot of people say it explodes, but it doesn't. It just catches on fire. And this is the flywheel, which turns the piston crankshaft inside of here, which then turns the piston up and down inside of here. And when the flywheel turns, when you pull start it, there's little magnets right here and right here that, if you can see, are very, very close. There's a fine, small amount of area. You can't even stick a screwdriver in between it. That cause an electric reaction between that magnet, which sends electricity to the spark plug. And so that's how an engine stays running. And when you pull start it, it causes that electric shock, which causes a small gap in the spark plug to create a spark, which ignites the gas. And the fuel delivery system is made with the carburetor from the gas tank and works off the pressure of the piston going up and down, taking intake from, there's many passages in this carburetor, as you'll see when I open it up, that allow gas to go through this and this, which are the intakes for this carburetor, which fuel lines would normally go off of into a gas tank. This is just an engine that I've been fooling with for a while. I'm probably just gonna throw it out because I don't have a use for it. But I eventually got it running. It's from a backpack blower. It's 50cc, common for backpack blowers. And yeah, it runs. I just don't have a use for it. So, back to the carburetor. I'll come back when I have it open. Now I have the carburetor open, and this is the top of the carburetor, and this is what the bottom looks like. All those little holes, for the exception of these 4 holes on the side, this copper one is a valve that allows gas to go in but not to suck back out, because the back pressure from the piston inside there will cause gas to just go in the carburetor and then just exit, which will cause the engine to stall, which happens a lot. And so that's the gas acceptance valve, and then this is the needle here, and as you can see, when I push down right here, it pushes that little lever up, which pushes the head of that up, which I will show you in a minute, is a pin that leads down to a rubber seal, which you might not be able to see on camera, but that in the end allows the gas to travel through the carburetor and combine with air to make almost like an aerosol of gasoline and air mixture to go in here, which burns very well with minimal spark. Okay, I've removed the screw which holds the pin in place there. As you can see, I just popped it out. It's very important to have an open space so you can keep track of all your gaskets and whatnot, and make sure you know which order they go in. Now, as you take it out, you can see that spring always has it up so gas can go in, and there is the, if it focuses, there's a little rubber seal down there with a ball and another spring underneath it that when pushed down allows gas in and this gasket right here sits on top of that, and this this thing turns, which moves this welge plug right here, silver thing, which allows the gas to come in and out of that passage. And again, that is the size of the pin, which is controlled by that lever. Moving on to the 4-stroke, it's the same concept as the 2-stroke, in that this turns the camshaft, which turns the piston up and down in here, although this one has an overhead valve, which has 2 valves that allow air to escape through, since there's more compression in larger engines, such as this one. And this one also has valves for the exhaust, and then there's a valve, if I were to take this off, which is the carburetor, over here there's a valve to allow gas air mixture in. I'll remove the carburetor from this and show you the differences in a 2-stroke versus a 4-stroke carburetor. I just removed the carburetor and disassembled the bowl from the end of it, and found a bunch of gasket material inside the bowl where the pin, which is right under there on 4-stroke carburetors, which was most definitely blocking the gasoline from getting into this passage into the cylinder head, which is why this engine didn't start. So the system of a 4-stroke carburetor is simply this this white looking float, as they call it, sits like this, and when gas is poured into it, it lifts up because it's full of air, and it floats, causing that needle to move inward, allowing gas into the cylinder head. So I opened up the overhead valve cover, which was this. It's dented because it fell, and I wanted to show you how the valves move and what they actually do when the engine turns over. This is the pull start where it's supposed to be, but it's not working, so I use a rope and wrap it around and move it. So I'm going to stimulate that with my hand, and as you'll see, my left valve will shut, which moves that rod down in there, up and down, which is the exhaust valve. And then on the right side, as that goes up, you'll see this one go down, which moves the valve inside the carb intake up and down. Can't see it on camera, but it looks the same as the exhaust port. And then where that spark plug is where all the action happens. Down in the cylinder head is where the flame builds, moving the piston up and down. So we'll put everything back on.